another week. This is the Ethan's post-bachelor party edition. We all survived here. One of the more mellow bachelor parties I have been on. I'm not going to complain. It's actually, if we were in the to hang banners here, this is the first bachelor party that I have ever went to where there wasn't a single cigarette smoked. So that was a different experience for me. The more I thought about it, we were about halfway through on Friday. I was like, I don't think there's going to be anybody that's going to be smoking a cigarette in this group, and there wasn't here. But it was a good time. I went on my first hike. We hiked to the highest, not the highest point. It was it was probably about almost a 2-mile hike up, and I think by the end it was like about a 3.5 mile. I think my watch said
right around there. I think like 2.8, 2.9, something like that.
We got to do some pop stroke where Grant and Ethan kicked ass. Ethan on the red course, Grant on the black course, and I sucked at putting.
Wasn't it other way around because we started?
It was other way. No. Yeah, I was black course. Grant was red.
Yeah. Okay.
My sizzling 42.
And it was sizzling out, and then we got to spend the afternoon playing pool basketball. I suplexed Ethan into the pool.
Yep.
Grant picked me up and tried to drag me out to the deep end. I responded by burying a 3 in his face, and my toes have slow.
I should have just picked you up and literally put you in the 8-foot section where you had to let go of the basketball. That was my mistake.
You should have. You thought you were deep enough, but I wasn't.
I wasn't deep enough. Nope.
And at that point, I think my thought process was like, I can't go in there again, so I'm just going to shoot it and see what happens. Next thing you know, it's nothing but net too. I swished that puppy.
Oh yeah, you buried that thing. That may have been the best basketball shot you've had in your life. Because
I don't know, that video of him shooting the layup over the backboard at men's league is pretty good.
That one I might have to share at some point to show to everybody. That might be a TikTok down the line, but that shot was about as bad as the Wolves shooting was last night here. And I had a lot of time to think about this today because I had to go out on the road and do some driving. And I think maybe Steve Kerr just rope-a-dope the Wolves into thinking all our guys are tired. We're going to empty the bench. You know what? They didn't shoot well in game 5. Let's see. They haven't played in 5 days. They're going to maybe they come out rusty. Let's see here. Let's let them invite them to shoot. Let's pack the paint. Let's let them shoot threes. And if they get hot, they get hot. We can get our guys out, get them some rest. We'll regroup, be ready for game 2. And if they miss, and see if they keep shooting them. And that's kind of what they did. And it was not it was a rough shooting performance from Ant. Chris Finch talked about it in the post-game press conferences. He actually really called them out, which isn't something you see very often in today's NBA or any sport where your head coach is calling out the best player on your team, saying he needs more energy. And he's absolutely right. I think Ant's going to respond. I think he may have found something at the end. I think Wolves realize that they're going to have to go inside. They do have a big size advantage. And the shooting is a concern, but it wasn't my biggest concern from game 1. My biggest concern, where I was more concerned, was just the lack of energy that they showed up with. And then not to mention, which I think played a role in the 18 turnovers and the however many offensive rebounds they gave up, which needs to get figured out.
Jimmy Butler had seven offensive rebounds himself. So that's we had 9 as a team, if that kind of tells you how we were playing. But yeah, it was just frustrating because when they actually got back into the game, it was driving downhill. It was getting to the rim. But then they just go right back to chucking the threes. It's like, I get maybe they're packing the paint. Sure, whatever. We still were going right at them and scoring. So why are we just pulling up like DiVincenzo from like 35 feet. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, none of these guys could hit anything. Naz Reid was like, what? The only guy that I think had more than 1-3. Ant finally hit one in the fourth, but that was it. But yeah, it was just frustrating watching them just repeatedly just chuck these threes when they had barely made anything all night.
Basketball coaches need to make a rule or a policy, whatever you want to call it, that says, guys, if we're shooting 20% from the 3-point line, we need to stop. Like, you need to start holding these dudes accountable, because eventually it's going to catch up to you. And even if Steph gets hurt and he's out, but Hield's having a good night. Draymond looked like Draymond from 2016, 2015. He went back in the time machine, but there needs to be some accountability with these players. I understand there's maybe not as many design plays in basketball as there is in every play in a football game, but there comes to a point where you're doing more harm than good by just chucking up all these threes because you're like, well, we made the most 3-pointers in the regular season. We're going to do this again. Well, when you're shooting what the Wolves are these last 2 games, was it 19-73 or some crazy number like that? At some point, just you got to stop. You got to realize that, you know what, maybe it's not your night. Go inside. Sure, they might be packing the paint, but go up strong, and who knows, you might get a foul. You might get Draymond on 2 quick, easy ones, and then before you know it, they really don't have a big guy. And if Draymond thinks one of those wasn't a foul, he might get impulsive and get a tech. And then it changes the momentum of the game. So they just, got to fix that up. But Dylan, I think you're right. I think the Wolves looked at it, hey, we beat the Lakers in 5. We were talking all this shit. We got home court now. I think they kind of walked into it thinking they were better than what they actually were. And they played with fire, and they got burned last night against a team that has championship pedigree all over the court. You can't take Golden State serious, even though this team isn't as good as those teams in years past. But they have a bunch of players who know what it takes to win, and they won last night.
Yeah, that's the other part too. Is it's like on paper, yes, the Wolves are a much better team, but at the same time, the Warriors are not what they were in their dynasty where they won the 3 titles in 4 years. They just aren't. And age, they don't have the guys that they had. But at the end of the day, they know how to win. The core of that group has been playing together for, it feels like going on 15 years at this point between Steph and Draymond. I mean, the 2 that have lasted, Clay left last year. I mean, between those 2 and Steve Kerr, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of playoff games, a lot of big game experience. And they are what the Wolves are trying to be. And the Wolves have shown that they can win a multitude of ways, but they did not. They just felt like, oh, we're not making threes. It was kind of just that, well, nothing's going to go our way. Let's kick dog turds, feel bad for ourselves because we're not going to make a shot. And there was no aggressiveness. And even when their transition offense was just terrible because that's what led to a lot of their turnovers. They just seemed so out of sync. Just the pass. Yeah. Like they'd have like a 2-on-1 and it would just throw it out of bounds.
Yeah. Just not crisp or anything. And I know we haven't gotten to the Steph Curry part, but like these next 3 games are massive. Like he's not playing a minimum of 3 games. Like he's going to get reevaluated in a week. There's no guarantee he even plays game 5. Like that's a week from today. Like very well might miss the next 4. Like you can't mess up on any of these games. You have to win the next 3. And if they come out like they did last night, I don't know if they do that even without Steph.
Well, and the other part of it too is like, I mean, a hamstring strain takes about anywhere from a week to 3 weeks. Those soft tissue injuries are very touch and feel. And the way that Steph Curry plays, like the nonstop movement, the stopping, the cutting and going, that's a lot to put on a 37-year-old hamstring who's played probably almost as many playoff games as some of these guys on the Wolves have regular season games.
I was going to say playoff game more than.
I might be
more than
over
combined.
exaggerating a little bit, but I'm just trying to get my point across here. Where like that's and he's got a dented shooting hand, and he still can make threes. You don't want to say it's a must win, but these next 3 games they need to just step on their neck and impose their will and make them feel like this big.
If you ask me, Dylan, I think game 2 is a must win in this aspect. Don't give the Warriors confidence. That team has one Batman and a semi-Batman and Jimmy Butler and a bunch of Robins. Don't let one of those Robins get his confidence up and think, hey, I can become Batman. Like you said, you got to smother and let them realize Steph is the straw that stirs this drink. And without Steph, they have nothing. In-game adjustments, I understand, can be kind of tough. You lose Steph last night in the second quarter, and the Wolves coaching staff couldn't figure it out. It happens in every sport you're in. Someone gets injured, the backup comes in. You don't know what to do. Bad things happen. Okay, I'll let last night slide. But going forward now that you know he's gone, like you said, Ethan, for a minimum of a week, you know, okay, hey, when we're on defense, option number 1 we have to stop is number 10. Now, Jimmy Butler is the man we are going to stop. He's not letting him beat us. And now even if Buddy Hield goes off, well, at the end of the day, that might be okay because then he's not the third person going off. But there's no excuse now for this Wolves defense to let Golden State, if you ask me, get to 100 points in these next 3 games. Yeah. Without Steph and the way this roster is set up, if you ask me, 100 points is all the Wolves need to win. And if they can't do that, they don't deserve to win this series.
And that's real. Draymond Green ain't going to go 4 of 6 or 4 or 5 from 3 again. It's just not. No. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, he had his one shining moment, like how he never had one at Michigan State, last night.
And the Knicks actually just went up 2-0 on the Celtics right now.
I can't believe this. Yeah, they literally
actually won. No King.
Yeah,
that's hilarious because all the Boston fans. Oh, we'll give them game 1. We didn't play well. That's the only one they're going to get. They've been saying that's the only one they've been going to get for 3 days. That's hilarious.
It's funny. Tatum. It was 91-90. Tatum was driving left. He kind of lost his dribble a little bit. Went up for a shot. Mikal Bridges came up and said, "Not today, buddy." Blocks it. Throws the ball 8,000 feet in the air just to run the clock off. Time expired.
Nice.
Knicks up 2-0 going home.
There you go. That Pacers ending last night was fantastic too.
Oh, dude. Give me the big balls dance in Cleveland any day of the week.
That's such
and they said Tyrese Halliburton was overrated.
He's a solid player.
I think people just don't like him because he comes off as soft. And not to call out our female audiences, but a little feminine. When I look at Halliburton, he doesn't have that going for him. But you know what? When I need a shot in these playoffs, there's no one else I want besides him taking that shot.
That's fair.
As of right now, sorry, Jalen Brunson, just because you play in New York, everyone's glazing over you and your Villanova cock. But give me Halliburton over Jalen Brunson any day of the week.
Did you see
Grant defending a Cyclone is not something I had on the bingo card. And Tyrese Halliburton is also the only person since 2018 LeBron James to hit a game winner in two game winners in the same year of the playoffs.
Well, what was the stat this morning I saw? I can't remember what it was, but it's only been done 3 times in NBA postseason history. The Pacers have done it 2 of those 3 times this playoffs.
Oh, Ethan, I think it was like
something with coming back from like 20 down or something.
Or I thought it was like 8 down with 30 seconds left.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, the Pacers have done it twice this playoffs.
Yeah,
and then the Pacers also did it a 3rd time with Reggie Miller, like in 94, 95 against the Knicks.
Oh yeah, that was the
choke me.
11 shots in like 30 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
And so I think like this has happened 3 times in NBA history, and it's all been done by the Indiana Pacers.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And 2 have been this year.
What was
point, Ethan?
That's the other part is like, what was Cleveland doing? And then I thought it was really concerning after the game where Cleveland's coach said that we were tired and ran out of gas. When you go look at the box score, nobody on Cleveland's roster played more than 38 minutes.
Granted, they were down 3 guys.
They were down 3 top players.
Yeah.
So, Dylan, to your point, their bench they're getting time they haven't seen all year, and it's the playoff time. The intensity is that much higher. But also they were the number 1 seed, and they wrapped this up a long time ago. They shouldn't be tired. They should have fresh legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it goes back to the rest versus rust where it's guys are just comfortable playing. They're in a rhythm and can go.
Look at every series so far, guys.
The road team had no road teams won a playoff game.
No,
yeah, in the semis.
All the home teams, their series before were done in 5 games, while the road teams, at least I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah, the Cavs swept, Oklahoma City swept, Wolves in 5, Celtics in 5. Sure, the Pacers, they beat the Bucks in 5, but everyone else was battle tested into at least 6 or 7 games. So they're still in that groove, to your point, Dylan, the rest versus rust.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right. Well, game 2 for the Wolves tomorrow night. We will we'll just keep going and rolling with the that's what we're going to be basing our show around for the next few weeks. But we got a couple of NFL topics to get to. But before we do, Grant's going to give us an update on what he thought at the of what he saw at the Met Gala that happened on Monday night.
Well, I saw Sabrina Carpenter was in a maroon coat that looked like she was wearing a swimsuit on, and people are upset about that. I don't know why people are upset about that, because that's who she is. And there's nothing wrong with the way she dresses. Get off of her. That's all I got.
That's it.
I saw Jalen Hurts and his wife were there. They look like 2 beautiful people, to no surprise. Yeah, that's all I got.
Would you ever want to go to the Met Gala yourself?
No.
Do
you know what the Met Gala is, even?
No. I just know that you dress up and do stupid
famous
stuff.
People that dress up and they think they're better than us, they look down at us and say, "Look at these poor people." I don't know. Like, I'm sure the suit Jalen Hurts was wearing yesterday was more expensive than my car.
More than your annual salary.
Yeah, exactly.
At
Hi, I'm Jalen Hurts, and this suit cost me $65,000.
Can you imagine paying
Hi, I'm Brett, and I don't make $65,000 a year.
Could you imagine paying $500 for a haircut?
No.
Nope.
I get one a year, and it costs me $20.
Could you imagine?
25 with a tip at Great Clips is too damn much.
Exactly.
Could you imagine telling your dads that you spend $500 on a haircut?
Well, no, because my dad doesn't have hair.
Yeah, speaking of that, my dad is also he's the bald guy, but he's got the little the kind of the random part in the back. You know, like it was very popular in the 80s where he doesn't just totally shave his head. So, but he can get his hair cut in the kitchen, and it takes my mom 3 minutes to do that. So no, I could not imagine that.
No.
I remember trying to tell my dad that I spent $80 on a pair of Lululemon shorts, and he just like, "Are you serious?" And he kind of just like walked away shaking his head.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Dylan, what even is the Met Gala? Also, what even is a gala?
A gala? It's where a bunch of rich people spend money on whatever. I was listening to the
is that
Two
like
Pros and a Cup of Joe.
Is that like when Joey on Friends went to that thing and bought a boat for $20,000?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, a lot of them are like, they have the proceeds go to some foundation or some project that they're doing, basically.
So, from what I learned this on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe on Tuesday because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pete Prisco. He was a longtime writer. He's
CBS
covered
guy?
the NFL for a long time. The CBS guy. Yep. Bald
Yeah.
guy. He's a very funny, entertaining guy to listen to. And they were talking about it on Tuesday when he was on the show. And it's something to do with it's like a gala that preserves or a fundraiser that it's like a fundraiser for like the Met Museum where it's like ancient art from like the 15th century all the way to like now, like all the way. It's like their way they raise money to preserve those artifacts or something along those lines, I believe.
Interesting.
So, but the big news out of the NFL today was when we woke up this morning and Adam Schefter had tweeted out that the Cowboys have traded for Steelers wide receiver George Pickens for a third and a fifth receivers. The Cowboys got Pickens and a sixth rounder. And my initial reaction is ring 6 loading, but as I said, you get it's on a really shitty Wi-Fi after Grant ravaged it with viruses on looking at some things that we won't discuss here. But that's about how I feel about it. I don't hate the trade for the Cowboys. I actually don't think they came out all right. They didn't have to give up a first rounder. The Steelers are just stockpiling at this point because I feel like with Aaron Rodgers in limbo, the two quarterbacks you have on the roster in Will Howard and Mason Rudolph, I feels like they're almost the way they're stockpiling picks that they got from the DK trade. It feels like they're almost stockpiling it and trying to get a move up in next year's draft to try and go get like an Arch Manning or a Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik of that type in a loaded quarterback class for next year. And Dallas, I'll make the pitch that I enjoy. I like this trade in the sense that it gives Dallas a second receiving option, which something they didn't address in the draft. You get a borderline, as far as talent goes, probably a number one receiver on any NFL roster, talent-wise, but he's a bit of a nutcase, so he does kind of fit in the Cowboys. And the other part of it, too, is this Pickens, if he's able to manage it, and if Brian Schottenheimer is anything the way his dad is as a coach, the way he was able to handle egos, you never really heard of a lot of locker room situations under Marty Schottenheimer. If Brian's able to do that and manage and keep George Pickens' emotions in check and handle him, I think you're going to get a good player. And I think Pickens is a guy that has that edge, which there's really nobody on Dallas that does have that nasty, feisty edge that I feel like they've been missing and can really get those guys over the hump, especially because he's a tremendous blocker in the run game when he wants to. I mean, you go back to when he was at Georgia, seeing him run through guys or just pancake dudes. I go back to when he just absolutely laid out Dax Hill in the Orange Bowl. I hope that he can be somewhat of a good player and not completely terrorize the locker room. The worry is going to be, when CD's getting 8 catches and Pickens only has 2 targets, how is he going to handle that? How is the coaching staff going to be able to manage that? That's my concern. But you're not going to be disappointed with the talent that Pickens has, and just trying to, if he's able to bring that edge out and some other guys on that roster, then maybe that's what Dallas needs, because right now they're looking at either being 3rd or 4th in the division in the East and not even close to competing for a playoffs.
Honestly, I think it's kind of like, you can call it a high risk if you want. I honestly don't think it is. I say it's a low risk, high ceiling type move. You haven't had a wide receiver 2 in forever. If you would have given him an extension, then I would say it's high risk. But he's only on a 2-year deal at this point, 2 years on his contract.
This is a contract year.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with I think it's a great idea. it's worth a shot. Like if CeeDee Lamb can't get him to get his head straight, and just Dak seems just like a super down to earth guy that really kind of keeps that locker room together. I think it could work really well.
Ethan, I'm glad you brought that up because this will be the first time that Pickens will actually have an adult or somebody that has a quarterback that has proven that he can play at a high level and play that is a quarterback that's on the team that everybody looks at and is like, that's our leader, that's our guy. He didn't have that in Pittsburgh.
Mm-mm. No.
Well, yeah, 2 years of Kenny Pickett and
Russell and Justin Fields.
Russell and Justin Fields, and then someone else last year when Pickett was benched. Rudolph again. Like, and then also Dylan, if he can sit back, and I think with what they need to sit with Pickens, they need to sit him down and have this tough conversation and be like this, George, listen, you're the number two. You're not the one. This is CeeDee Lamb's room. CeeDee's going to have 120 catches. Are you comfortable with 60 catches this year? But if you do
1,300 yards,
1,300 big explosive plays.
Yeah.
Are you okay with 60 catches, 1,100 yards, and 8 to 10 touchdowns? Because that's what he can do in this league if he has his head screwed on tight.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ryan Schottenheimer and his offensive staff let him know you're not going to get the opportunity much, but when you do get the rock, you're going to be going for a lot of yards. Then I think it can work out because then he knows it as a contract year. And I've never met one person in my life who spent 6+ months living in Dallas and said, "Oh, I hate it here. I want to leave." Because guess what? He does his thing. He gets his head screwed on tight, and he's like, you know what? I'm not the guy, but I'm a hell of a two in this league. I could live in Dallas for another 3 to 4 years after this.
He could be the best two in the league.
State income tax?
Best two in the league behind T. Higgins.
Yeah, I think he could be better if his head's straight.
If his head, yeah. Talent-wise, physical talent-wise, he has a lot more than T. He just needs to keep his head screwed on tight.
He's also never healthy, so
that is also true.
But yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic, like I am with anything with the Cowboys these days. But the moving on here, one more topic before we get to curveball of the week, as it appears that Justin Tucker's time in Baltimore did not come to a happy ending. He was released on Monday by the Ravens, and it was they said it was strictly a football move, but 16 allegations, and it's just weird that like these pro athletes, and you also heard listening to Pete Prisco saying yesterday that it was and if you listen to shows in Baltimore, that it was kind of there was a reputation about him. And like when he was struggling this year, there was some comments made on Baltimore radio saying that he needs to go back to his old ways. And like when you have 16 of those, and with the part that I just don't fully understand is you're a professional athlete, like the school, like the teams have chiropractors, they've got masseuses. Like, why are you going around to X number of massage therapists if you're just going to get treatment? Because there's going to be one that you like and stick with because they know your body the best. And I think it's just not and it also raises the question of if Tucker had a good year last year, is Baltimore cutting him? That's another question. And I'm curious to see if he's going to get.
I can answer that question for you, Dylan. No, if he was his normal self, he is still on the Baltimore Ravens roster. Let's call a spade a spade. You've seen it everywhere across the NFL, MLB, the NBA. If you're still playing at an all-star Pro Bowl, all pro level, all whatever, teams are willing to deal with stuff like this. But since his play dropped, he was missing extra points, he was missing game-winning field goals, he wasn't as reliable anymore, then Baltimore used that as an excuse to cut maybe the greatest kicker of all time, or one of the greatest kickers of all time. But yeah, they're 100% using these sexual assault allegations as the reason to cut him, but also his poor play as the PR move right there. That 100%.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a little bit of both, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see if there's going to be another team that's going to give him a shot.
I'm just surprised Cleveland hasn't signed him yet.
Yeah, and
yeah, it's fair.
I think the Deshaun Watson comparison isn't fully fair in the sense that Watson, the year that he sat out was the year before that 2020 season. He was coming off statistically wise, the best season of his career. And I mean, Tucker that's not the case. So I'm curious to see. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets signed in training camp after a team sees our kicker isn't cutting it. We're going to bring him in and see how he does. But
are we just waiting for Green Bay to sign him because they can never have a kicker?
They don't deserve a kicker.
I'm just saying that I could see them doing that, because also not many massage therapists in Green Bay that he probably wants to do the things that he did in Baltimore too.
Also
probably
true.
A fair point.
It sounds like he might need to go to a place there because that was when he was having his most success.
There you go. So he's just going to have to find the best looking 7 in Green Bay, because that's probably the best that Green Bay has to offer.
Yeah,
get his game back.
Can't imagine Appleton's any better.
Ooh. But I forgot. There's one more topic. What did you guys make of Abdul Carter requesting to wear number 56 in honor of Lawrence Taylor? And then after they said no, he goes to Phil Simms and asks if he could wear number 11.
I respect
the two
it.
biggest names.
At least he has the balls to ask.
Asking Phil Simms, that one, okay, that's fine. He won one Super Bowl. He didn't win the second one. But how naive and delusional do you have to be to ask for Lawrence Taylor's number? Like, that's like going to the Chicago Bulls and saying, hey, can I wear number 23? You don't do it. Some numbers are meant to not be worn again. And Lawrence Taylor's number is one to not be worn again. When you can be cracked out on Saturday night and then come to the Meadowlands and have 2 sacks and break your opponent's wrist across from you and put the fear of God into people like Lawrence Taylor did, don't ask to wear that jersey ever again.
Lawrence Taylor is probably, after Tom Brady, the second greatest player of all time, without a doubt, hands down, the number 1 greatest defensive player of all time.
Him or Reggie White.
And Mark Schlereth I was listening to his show the other day, and he was telling this story of when he was playing for the Redskins, and they ran this like wide zone, and his team, and he just lit LT up, and they had like a 20-yard run, and Schlereth is running back to the huddle, and all of a sudden he hears, hey, motherfucker, and he turns around. If you ever pull that shit again, I'll effing kill you. And he goes to the sideline. Guys, we can't run that play again.
That's awesome. We can't run that play again.
I think like if in jerseys of some sort, and obviously Lawrence Taylor is different because I highly doubt Lawrence Taylor has a charity that he runs. But at that point, like, you got to offer up some signing bonus money. You got to offer up, like, to wear 56. That's at least like to the Giant. Well, I mean, offer it to whatever the Mars charity is. Offer like $2 million to wear 56, and that might not even be high enough. But you got to offer up some type of compensation to the other party to allow you to wear that, because for one, you're a rookie. The jersey the number you're given should be one of your minimal concerns. Your focus should be going on and being the best football player you can, and go create your own legacy. Go out and worry and go take care of business. And at some point, you can have your own number retired.
Dude, that's what Lawrence Taylor told him. Lawrence Taylor said, no, you can't wear 56. Go out and make your own number. Make 54 special in New York City.
Yeah.
Where 20 years from now, people are like, you know what? I want to be number 54 because that's the number Abdul Carter wore. Make it 99. I don't care. Go out and create your own legacy. Don't try to be the next Lawrence Taylor, because I hate to break it to you, Abdul, you're not going to be that guy. You're not. And if he might become a first ballot Hall of Famer someday, and he might end his NFL career with 180 sacks. And if he does, that's awesome. But let's call a spade a spade. That's not going to happen.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, Grant.
Yes, but go out and make your own legacy.
Yeah,
this isn't Penn State or LSU where everybody gets the same number, 11 or 7 or something like that. This is the National Football League. Numbers don't matter. Like, do you think Julian Edelman thought, hey, you know what? Shoot, I'm number 11. This sucks. I don't want this. I want to be number 1 like I was at Kent State. No, he worked his dick off. And now people in New England don't think of Drew Bledsoe as 11. They think of him, and he's now in the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the number. Just go in, Abdul, work your dick off, become a good player, and then create your own legacy.
Yep. And Grant, your legacy is on the line here as you have curveball of the week and bring us home. So what do you got?
So as Dylan mentioned earlier, we all just came back from vacation together. I'm just wondering, guys, if there was one vacation spot you were allowed to in your life, only go to one vacation spot for the rest of time, for however long you're on this planet for. But it has to be a spot you've been to before. Where are you going back for every single vacation?
I guess I'm going to Phoenix.
Ethan's gonna retire at not my rodeo or not my first rodeo.
Oh, Jesus, I just might have to. Coyote Corner every night.
In the words Dylan, those were not coyotes up there.
Good shots though.
It was.
I did not take any.
That's unfortunate. I took too many.
Ethan also held a goat.
Ethan did hold a goat.
And it was not Tom Brady.
It wasn't. And it wasn't
I didn't
me
even
either.
hold myself.
Yeah.
But, I think I have it narrowed down. It would either have to be Cabo or Cancun. One of those. Can I just say Mexico? The beaches of Mexico?
Sure, because
that's
quite. You can't just say Mexico, because then that could be like Mexico City, and God, no, we do not want to go there.
I want a city. I want a city in Mexico.
Okay. Ooh. All right. I'll say Cancun, just for the reason you can actually go in the water over there, where Cabo you can't because it's too high of a surf. So I would say Cancun.
Nice. I want to say Phoenix, because like what Ethan said, because I did have a great time, and that was the first time I was down there. But that might be some recency bias. But to be different, I'd say maybe the Colorado Springs, Denver area.
That was a good one.
That was a fun vacation I went on maybe 10 plus years ago with the fam. But yeah, like I said, it might be recency bias, but Phoenix or Colorado's got to be the answer for me. And to give an answer, I will say Denver.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ethan, Phoenix, me, Cancun, Grant, Denver. But that wraps it up. Hopefully next week's episode is going to have a little bit more positive vibes regarding the Wolves. Hopefully we're going to be coming on celebrating the Wolves being up 3-1. And going back to that, though, I texted you guys last night when Squidward knows Nick Wright was saying that the Wolves were going to roll him on the herd. I was like, I got a bad feeling now. This is not going to be a good.
Yep, that's some bad omen right there. Anytime that guy talks, always go against what he says.
Yeah, Grant, that's your boy. You guys are brothers.
That guy.
He is your Kansas City brethren, and you need to talk about him like that. But
the reason why I can't talk about him as a true Chiefs fan is because he got his start and his break on FS1 when Cowherd went there in the football season of 2016. He had 2 full football seasons where that team won the AFC West and went into the playoffs and did not talk about them once as a fan. I can understand, Alex Smith was not Patrick Mahomes. And that team is not what they were now. But they were still a damn good team, especially that 2016 team. He didn't talk about them once. All of a sudden, the savior comes, being Patrick Mahomes, and he is some sort of Kansas City super fan, and they're the greatest organization in pro sports. Nope, you're just a dick rider like you are to LeBron James.
And
get out of here.
Yeah, I don't like him.
The other part about it was he was also basically saying that the Hunts were racist and needed to sell the team after they traded Marcus Peters, and now he rides them, the Hunts, like.
Yeah, it's.
But that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll be back next week. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, review 3GTV podcast. Make sure you leave a comment on YouTube and Spotify. Leave a review. It helps boost the algorithm. And thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.